Hi guys, welcome back to Ionic Compounds. This is part 2. So we're going to start things off with a drawing activity. So what I'm going to ask you to do is draw one of the following ionic compounds. Okay, either lithium chloride, sodium fluoride, magnesium oxide, magnesium chloride, or calcium chloride. So as we move down the list, they do get a little bit more difficult, so feel free to choose one of the, start with an easier one and then make your way down the list. I've only asked you to draw one. You will have 3 minutes for this activity. However, if you finish your drawing and want to try another one, by all means do so. You're going to be checking your own answers by clicking on the link which is available on the small page, and you can look at this as via a simulation, move the atoms around and see how they become ions and how they bond together. Don't forget, take a picture of your drawing and post it in the virtual picture board so that we can all enjoy each other's drawings. Okay, so this is where you pause the video. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Okay, so hopefully I've had a good time drawing some nice pictures, and there'll be plenty to look at on the picture board. Right, so moving on to ionic charge. An ion's charge is dependent on certain variables: its position in the periodic table and the number of outer electrons that it has. Ions have a complete outer shell, so atoms achieve or become ions by losing or gaining electrons. Okay, so let's have a look at a specific example, a worked example. So we're going to look at sulfur, which is in group 6, which is highlighted on the periodic table here. And we're going to see what happens when sulfur reacts with magnesium. Okay, so the charge that is created is going to be negative. Okay, the charge on the ion is 8 minus 6, which equals 2. So if we quickly go back, we are comparing its position, in sulfur's position in group 6 to group 8, which has a full electron outer shell. Okay, so to get a full electron outer shell, it needs to take 2 electrons right there and there from the magnesium. So the magnesium ion becomes positive, okay, which is a metal, which makes sense, and sulfur is negative because it is a non-metal. Empirical formulas. Empirical formula is a chemical formula showing the elements present in a compound and their proportions. For example, water, H2O, carbon dioxide, CO2, and salt, sodium chloride, NaCl. You may be asked to calculate the empirical formula from a model of an ionic compound. Okay, so how do we calculate the empirical formula? Our top tips. We need to look at all of the information to find out which elements are present. We need to look on the periodic table to find out the group each element is in. This will tell us what charge the ion has. Okay, so imagine a seesaw with each element either side. The seesaw needs to be balanced, so add ions until it is balanced. Then write the formula. Make sure the amount of each ion is in subscript. Also, write the symbols in the order in which they appear in the periodic table from left to right. So, a worked example of an empirical formula. Elements present. Our worked example is for cesium chloride. So we have cesium and chlorine. So cesium is in group 1. Cesium will lose 1 electron and become 1 positive. It's in group 1, it is a metal, therefore it loses electrons and forms positive ions. Chlorine is in group 7. Chlorine will gain 1 electron and become 1 negative for its charge. Group 7 requires 1 electron to complete its outer shell. The seesaw is balanced because +1 plus -1 equals 0. So it is balanced because there is no charge. The formula is therefore CsCl, cesium chloride. Okay? So we have another activity here. You will have 5 minutes for this activity. All right? And you, in your subject knowledge development groups, complete the activity sheet to demonstrate your level of the skill in this area. So you'll go into your subject knowledge development groups through Microsoft Teams. You'll discuss each point if you need to discuss them, and you will fill out the tables together. This is where you pause the video. So 3, 2, 1, pause. Welcome back. So our last activity is to have a go at some practice exam questions. So locate the practice exam questions on the worksheet, which can be accessed via the small page. You will have 10 minutes to work through them in silence. So this is exam conditions. Once 10 minutes is up, you will self-mark your work, okay, using the mark scheme, which is also available on the small page. You'll then submit your answers to me. So for an extension, if you finish your exam questions within the 10 minutes, I know there is a ionic bonding crossword within the worksheet, so you can have a little go at that, and you can again self-mark that via the mark scheme for the worksheet. Okay, so this is where you pause the video. 3, 2, 1, pause. Welcome back. Okay. That's it for today on part 2. I look forward to seeing you again in part 3.